speaking of the Minnesota Vikings and Jim Harbaugh, I kind of teased a second ago that there has been apparently earnest mutual interest between both parties, Jim Harbaugh and the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, the Vikings have been looking to replace Mike Zimmer, their former coach, and there's been increasing speculation that Jim Harbaugh, if offered the job of the Minnesota Vikings head coaching vacancy, he would take it. And apparently, they are actually in the middle of a meeting right now. It was set to take place this morning on Central Time. And the timing is extremely important here because today is the National Signing Day in college football. So theoretically, if Harbaugh was not offered the head coaching job today, then he would turn his priorities and his point of emphasis to college football and the recruits. Now, to Jim Harbaugh's credit, he has publicly come out and stated that if he was offered a head coaching job, he would likely bolt for the NFL. He has openly and frankly said the same thing to recruits, that if he's offered a head coaching job, he'll leave Michigan. So he has laid it all out there. And I actually think that Jim Harbaugh should leave Michigan if he's offered the Minnesota Vikings head coaching job. And there are a number of reasons why. When you look at Jim Harbaugh and what he's done at Michigan, if you truthfully analyze what he has done and what he's accomplished nearly everything that he could have wanted at Michigan. You think about all the success that he's had. He's revitalized a fan base. He's resuscitated the program. He's restored Michigan to prominence. And he's returned them to relevancy. And I think that when he said that he would deliver Michigan, a promise to Michigan that they would be contending for college football championships, well, now he can say that he's delivered on that. He led them to the college football playoff. He won 72% of his games as a head coach 4 times. He won 10-plus games out of 7 seasons with the Wolverines multiple times. He was 1 win away from likely reaching the college football playoff. He's coaching in the Big Ten East, perhaps the most brutal division in college football. It's a gauntlet. So he's been attaining all kinds of success at Michigan. And I think that personally he has been delivering. Sure, he came short of a national championship. That would have been the ultimate delivery. But I do think that you look at the actual success that he's had and the way that we perceive Michigan now versus where it was when he first arrived is night and day. And that's what leads into the second big reason, which is he finally beat Ohio State. He delivered on his promise that he would beat Ohio State. And we all know, that the second he loses to Ohio State in the future, all the disappointment, all the scrutiny is going to be heaped back onto him yet again. And no one will remember the one victory he had over Ohio State. Instead, they'll be lamenting and agonizing over the most recent loss to Ohio State. And who knows when the next time he's going to beat Ohio State is. Again, it was a complete surprise and a complete shock this year that he beat them. And it's unlikely that, given that C.J. Stroud is going to be back at the helm next year after a full season under his belt, and he was a Heisman finalist last year, it's unlikely to think that in Columbus, Michigan is going to beat them. So we both know that he'll be skewered if he loses to Ohio State again, and then that narrative is going to circulate once again. So he finally beat Ohio State. He can say he beat Ohio State. Thirdly, the college football coaching schedule is brutal. It's a 24/7 job. It's a 24/7 job. You think about when you're on, okay, mid-July through all of August, preseason training camp. September all the way through December is the college football season. January is early signing period. February, national signing period. Mid-March through April, you have spring practice and spring training. And your quote-unquote off months are May and June, but you're never really off because you're constantly recruiting throughout the entire season. And recruiting is laborious. It's taxing emotionally, physically. You're having to travel everywhere. You're having to pamper and cater to these kids. You're traveling to inside all these homes, giving the same speech to all these prospective athletes. And in a lot of cases, you're serving as both a head coach, but also as a role model, a mentor, a father figure. Sometimes, in some cases, you're the most influential person in that individual's life, and you're trying to mold these young men and develop and build them as people. That can be emotionally taxing. So you're never off. You're constantly trying to recruit, and it's just a really brutal schedule. You're dealing with boosters that have agendas, that have mixed agendas as well. So it can be a vexing. There's a lot of red tape as far as what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, what's straddling the line, what's over the line. There are a lot of things to keep track of. And though you get compensated extremely well, I do think that it's just a extremely busy job where you really don't get any time off versus the NFL. You get some time off, you have more freedom, and you're not babysitting. You're getting a chance to just purely coach. And when you look at the Minnesota Vikings in particular, the job is actually pretty appealing because you're in the NFC, and right now we're seeing the NFC is a much easier conference than the AFC, especially given the fact that Tom Brady just announced his retirement. Now the Bucs don't have a quarterback. You're really looking at Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, Kyler Murray. Obviously, Russell Wilson is also part and is still in there. But some of those guys are aging. So the AFC is much more difficult. So you're in the NFC. You're in the NFC North, which isn't the most brutal division. Yes, you're playing against Aaron Rodgers, but not the most brutal division. And the Vikings, quite frankly, have a really good roster, and they have a good quarterback in Kirk Cousins. And we've seen that Jim Harbaugh can win with above average quarterbacks. We've seen the type of success he's had with Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith with the 49ers. And the other big thing that's appealing about the Vikings job is that the franchise will offer him patience. Mike Zimmer was the head coach for 8 seasons. He won 55% of his games. We've seen Jim Harbaugh win at the highest level everywhere he's been. He turned around a struggling Stanford program to relevancy. He left after they went 12-1 that season. I believe that was 2010. I think they won the Rose Bowl that year. Then he goes to the NFL. He proves he can win in the NFL in 4 seasons. He wins 69.5% of his games. I believe he goes 44-19-1. Leads the 49ers to an NFC championship and to a Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick as his starting quarterback. Alex Smith, he demoted. Then he returns to the college ranks and proves he can win at the college level at Michigan, winning 72% of his games over the course of 7 seasons. So I don't see any reason why he can't return to the NFL and attain the same type of success. I see that as entirely plausible and very likely. And the guy is only 58 years old. He still has plenty of coaching ahead of him. So I don't think there should be any concerns about his health or durability to being able to coach. He'll be fine. And so I think if he is offered, in fact, the job, not to mention Michigan kind of slighted him when they slashed his pay in half after one kind of 8-5 season after it looked like he wasn't living up to expectations. They cut his salary. You think he forgot about that? I doubt it. I'm sure he has held on to a grudge, and he's had a gripe with them. He's bit his tongue throughout this entire season, probably. So there are a bevy of reasons why I think if he is actually offered this position, he should take it. But I appreciate how frank and how candid he's been with recruits about it, because I think on some level, the recruits really appreciate the honesty that he's been showing them.